Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Total Soccer Show. I am Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who has all kinds of wacky ideas on a piece of paper in front of him. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. I like that you made it very specific to the piece of paper for fear that I would go off on a rant about conspiracy theories. I appreciate that.
So we are here today, Taylor, with an odd idea for a show, but something I think our listeners are going to really like.
I think so. Can I also say that before we get at least 2 emails or tweets about it, the United States landed on the moon. I know we did. I never said we didn't. Never said we didn't.
You again were convinced by the Buzz Aldrin punch, right?
Yes, that's it. I thought maybe there was a chance that they didn't land when they said they did. That was my only theory.
Okay.
Outside of that.
Do you still believe that?
No, not at all.
All right.
I do believe that the United States knew Pearl Harbor was going to happen, but that's a whole different story.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, we will get into that later.
Sure.
On today's show, we had the idea that we've been doing a lot of US national team shows over the last few years, but we've always been doing it from a semi-realistic angle, like based on what we think Klinsmann will do, and then sort of our best case scenario interpretations of that, right?
Yeah.
When we're selecting lineups and that kind of stuff. So we had the idea a few days ago to select US national teams free from the parameters that Klinsmann has set, right? And we've gone a little far with it, and we've really opened it up to just a few crazy ideas for, okay, if you're going to do this kind of thing, here's the team you could select.
Yeah, and I think, so you came up with this idea, and then I had an approach that was sort of like what I would like to see him do based on the personnel and the talent available, and I was explaining it to you, and there was like a 2 Mississippi silence, and then I think you said, I was contemplating tallest players available, and I think you might have one that relates to physical attributes. So that kind of made me reevaluate. So I've got some weird ones, is I guess what I'm getting at.
So this is more like, what do they say at corporations, like a blue sky thinking meeting?
Sure.
Where there are no bad ideas and no one gets shut down?
There are no bad ideas, but everyone is left pondering, those are all bad ideas,
Yeah,
aren't they?
you're just not allowed to say it.
And I think that's going to be the same thing here.
But we're going to hear each other out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So why don't you go first then?
Okay, so my first idea is a thing that I think Klinsmann has actually done once but has never gone back to. It's a thing that a lot of fans would love to see the US do because it gets all the players they like in the team. Mm-hmm. You know what it is, right?
What is it?
It's a 3-5-2.
Oh, okay, there we go. Okay,
yeah.
Sure.
So, yeah, I have put together a US national team.
It's just 11 Darlington Nagbees on the field.
If we could do that, well, I'll do 10 and a keeper, but yeah.
I think the most popular one would be 5 Nagbees, 5 Pulisics, and 1...
Goalkeeper?
Goalkeeper. I'm not sure who, though. There's many different options there for who the fan choice goalkeeper would be.
So here's how I solved this problem, right? Because I personally, I'm one of those people, I think I said this maybe 2 or 3 shows ago, that I don't think the 3-5-2 is actually a good idea for the United States because I think it asks too much of the wingbacks. Like normally you have 2 people out wide on either flank.
Why don't you give us the formation that you think would work, and then let's destroy it? Does that work? Can we do that? Can we do it like that?
No, I want to destroy it first and then build it up.
Okay.
The other problem, the reason the US haven't been able to do a 3-5-2 successfully is you need that sort of central guy in the back 3 who's like the libero who can step out and dictate play. And for Mexico, when they do it successfully, it's been Rafa Marquez. Right? Okay, so the way I've solved this is Michael Bradley. Michael Bradley steps back into a back 3.
Right.
And I had the idea for this when we watched his goal for Toronto against New York Red Bulls this weekend, where he started with the ball really, really deep, right? Just like played 1-2s all the way up the field and then slammed it home. And he got me thinking, and you saw him come between the 2 centre-backs loads of times, right? Why not make it official and go with a back 3?
Right. Because I think if there's one thing we know about central defenders, it's that they don't need to be good at marking or staying like defensively focused.
All right, so now I'm going to start making the case for it then. In my back 3, it is Bradley as the central of the back 3. It's Jeff Cameron and John Brooks alongside him. They are the proper defenders. Yep. Bradley is there to be receiving the ball and starting play from the back with a long diagonal or short passes moving up the field, right? He can step out. My wing-backs, on the left, Fabian Johnson, right? I prefer him with a left back behind him so he can attack, but in this situation, he's going to take the whole left side and get forward, and John Brooks is going to have to cover for him.
Yep.
On the right, it is not DeAndre Yedlin.
Okay. It is... Oh, I know who it is.
It's Kellyn Acosta. Yep. Yeah. I just don't trust DeAndre Yedlin to get back and like have the positional sense or even have the technique to boss a whole flank. I trust Kellyn Acosta more.
Yeah, because it does seem... that like a lot of people just assume like, oh, wingbacks, they're kind of defensive, but they're very fast and they get forward a lot and they run a lot. That's Fabian Johnson and DeAndre Yedlin.
Right.
But there is so much like positional awareness and tactical discipline that goes into that formation and those positions in particular that I don't necessarily know if DeAndre Yedlin is well suited to play wingback.
Exactly.
But if you disagree, be sure to send your emails to Daryl@TotalSoccerShow.com.
That's Daryl with 2 R's and 2 L's. My central midfield in this 3-5-2 is Darlington Nagbe, Alejandro Bedoya, and then ahead of the two of them, Christian Pulisic. Okay. This formation gets Christian Pulisic into a sort of number 10 spot with 2 forwards ahead of him.
So, and who is the other central midfielder? I heard Bedoya, I heard Pulisic. Who is the third?
Nagbe. Darlington Nagbe, yeah. Okay. Nagbe, Bedoya, and then Pulisic ahead of them. And then the forwards are Altidore and Wood. That's my 3-5-2 wing-backs, US national team, Michael Bradley as the Rafa Marquez.
So you just have no defensive midfield at all in the center of the field.
It's kind of a safety in numbers central midfield.
Yeah. Kind of who? Who was the name you said there?
Bedoya-ish.
Oh, really? Because it works so well when he played defensive midfield.
Here's the other thing with this formation.
I like that I'm tearing this down as though I don't know what I have written on my paper, which is equally going to be annihilated.
If we actually did this then, if we did this 3-5-2 seriously, would you prefer to have someone else instead of Bedoya in central midfield to be more defensive, like a Beckerman, maybe a Jermaine Jones instead? Like a Jones, Nagbe, Pulisic central midfield?
I think if you were really going to do this, if Klinsmann were really going to experiment, my guess would be that he would put Bradley in the midfield and maybe put Jones as that center back and have Jones be the libero.
I think this is a thing that has happened. Yeah, I kind of don't trust Jones to do that. I trust Bradley more.
I see, that's the thing though, is I really do feel like after that Toronto game that we just watched, Toronto Red Bulls, and we've seen him do it a couple different times for the US lately, Bradley does seem to kind of switch off sometimes and not track his runners and not get into the space where he's clearly supposed to be occupying and defending.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if he would do the same thing. So maybe Jermaine Jones, in my opinion, is the safer bet.
Well, maybe Bradley's better though if he knows that he is one of the 3 centre-backs. It just makes him stay home a little more. So then he's not chasing back down the field.
Yeah,
right. The other good thing with this formation is it's kind of like a Transformers formation. Because if it all goes wrong, we can push Bradley into midfield, pull Acosta and Johnson back, have, say, Pulisic and Bedoya or Nagbe go wide, and then you've got yourself a 4-4-2, right? You can, sort of like Osorio did in that one game where Mexico looked really good in the Copa America against Uruguay, where they did this formation switch. This formation could do that.
All right. Okay.
So it's a changeable 3-5-2/4-4-2.
I like it.
All right. That's the first blue sky idea. And so far, it's the winner.
Yep, I think so. And again, if you have your own thoughts about how the U.S. could look in a 3-5-2, send them to Daryl, Daryl, @TotalSoccerShow.com.
That's right. 3 R's, 3 L's.
Well, I'm going to stick with a 3-5-2 for mine, which was suggested by my wife. Who, because we've talked about this before, that both of our wives, because they don't watch much soccer, they tend to have weird abstract, like, why does he do this? And then you realize that's not that weird or abstract. It's a very valid question that I've just kind of skipped over my whole life.
Right, because they ask intelligent questions, but without all the bias and sort of knowledge that soccer fans have.
And it also, like, it's interesting to talk to her about, because I think with my knowledge that I think I have, at least, also comes like a lot of presumptions that I don't realize are there.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to hear somebody who just has none of that be like, this would be fun to see, and then think about, like, that would be interesting to see.
All right, and the what's she got for us?
And the one she came up with was a team full of Leo Messis. And I was like, well, yeah, obviously, everybody wants to see 11 Leo Messis on the field. She was like, no, I mean, like, people who look like him, like people who are short and wide. Which got me thinking about, like...
So difficult to knock off the
Exactly.
ball.
So it's basically a short team that can possess the ball really well. So the United States obviously doesn't have many players who are akin to Leo Messi, either in terms of talent or really physical stature.
But low centre of gravity.
There we are, yeah. So
and this
basically
creates like a passing team, I imagine, right? This is not a team that's going to play any long balls.
No, it's going to be a lot of passing. It's going to be ball on the floor. It's going to be a lot of movement.
Okay,
so I've gone with short, quote-unquote, players.
Who's the tallest player on this team before we do it?
It's a tie between Nick Rimando, Graham Zusi, and Kellen Acosta, all of whom are 5'10".
So 5'10's the max?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's
it's like if you're going into a parking lot and you've got that bar that's like no taller than this. This is how this team is selected.
Absolutely.
All right.
Worth noting, Christian Pulisic is in this team, but if he grows as he ages, then he might not be in the team anymore.
How tall is Pulisic? I'm assuming you've got their heights.
He is 5'8".
Is he really? Mm-hmm. All right.
Not the shortest one on the team either.
He's probably the most Messi-ish in that sense, because he's already looks kind of strong. He's going to get, I'd say he's going to get thicker more than he's going to get taller.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think Jordan Morris also kind of, but I think Jordan Morris is like 6'1". Could be wrong on
right.
that one. So I've got Kellen Acosta in there, maybe. But so I've got Nick Romano in goal. He's 5'10".
Of course, yeah.
My center back is Will Trapp, obviously, at 5'8". Edgar Castillo and Greg Garza are my outside backs. But I think actually I've decided to shift it. I'm going to go Castillo and Kellen Acosta are my outside backs now. So Kellen Acosta's 5'10", Edgar Castillo 5'6". My wingbacks are DeAndre Yedlin at 5'8", and Graham Zusi at 5'10", and then central midfield is Lee Win 5'8", Darlington Nagbe 5'9", Christian Pulisic 5'8", and then my forwards Julian Green 5'7", Rubio Rubin 5'9".
All right, so let's pro-con this. All right, pros.
The con is the defense.
Yeah, all right, but pros, all these guys are good on the ball.
Yep.
Right? So this is, I presume this is going to be a pass and move team. It's going to be hard to knock off the ball. What happens when they get knocked over, if they get fouled, right? Maybe they get fouled, but they don't go down. And they get a free kick just outside the area. Or they win a corner kick. Do they cross this ball in?
Oh, it's always short, man. It's always ball on the floor.
Always ball on the floor.
Yeah. And they don't concede fouls, and they don't concede corner kicks.
So what happens when they concede a corner kick?
They don't. That's the rule. Nick Romano either lets the ball go in the net or he has to catch it cleanly. He cannot punch it out for a corner kick.
So if there's a ball that's sort of going over the line after a tackle, it's going to be a corner kick to the opposition. You would have your guys drilled and practiced at keeping the ball in. The most important thing is to sprint and slide and keep that ball in play.
Yeah, and then outside of that, it's, again, going the Transformers route. Like, one player jumps on the other player's shoulders. That's how they defend the corner. I think that's the safest way to do it.
That's how they defend corners.
Yeah. I don't see how that could possibly go wrong.
They do the 3 toddlers in a coat trick.
I do sort of think that if you put 2 guys stacked one on top of the other at the top of the 6, it's going to be tough to clear.
Yeah, I mean, you will end up with a numerical disadvantage.
I mean,
so every time you double 2 players,
says you
have 1 fewer players.
Says you is my response to that statement.
Any other notes to add to this team?
I mean, other than the fact that my back 3 are Edgar Castillo, Will Trapp, and Kellen Acosta, which is
you've kind of got risky. Will Trapp doing my Michael Bradley thing.
I do,
right?
I do. It's mostly because you won't be surprised to hear this. Center backs, generally tall. Tough to find a center back who's, I think the shortest one I could find was like 6'1".
Right.
Yeah, and that's considered like tiny by center back standards.
I think Cannavaro is the only guy who could do it, and he's very much not American.
Yeah.
And retired.
Yes.
So there's 2 strikes against him.
Yeah. Right, you do have, and then you have Paul Arriola coming off the bench. He is 5'6".
All right.
Well.
Oh, is he that short?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I still think my 3-5-2 is the winner so far.
Between those two? Yeah, I think so too.
It's essentially the same formation, but one's really short.
And I have DeAndre Yedlin in a position where I just said he probably shouldn't play. So, yeah.
All right, do you want to hear my next team?
Oh, do I ever?
This 11 is called...
Does it have 2 guys, one sitting on top of the other one's shoulders?
I mean, we could do that.
I mean,
I'm not against it.
I just think it's a really smart play. That's all I'm getting at.
This is called the Pace in Your Face 11. This is a US national team selected with the idea that pace is the most important thing in soccer. Like, let's put a pin in whether that's actually true or not. It's not true. But let's pretend that it is. Pretend that pace is the most important thing. Then you have yourself a very, very fast US national team 11. Okay, obviously DeAndre Yedlin is the right back in this situation. Brek Shea is the left back. Central defensive pairing, Marvel Wynn and Andrew Farrell.
Oh, no.
Not a lot of international experience, but an awful lot of pace. This team is going to play with a very high line, right? We're going to high press, high line, and if balls go over the top, Yedlin, Wynn, Farrell, and Shea are going to chase it down.
I'm pretty sure we saw Andrew Farrell get beat for pace recently. So,
really?
Risky strategy you've gone with so far.
Farrell's fast. Okay, if it's not Farrell, then Opara, maybe.
Okay, sure.
I'm going with Farrell. Okay, my central midfield, Kellen Acosta, Statman again, he's plenty quick, alongside Christian Pulisic. That's 2 fast central midfielders. Maybe not the strongest, but 2 fast central midfielders. Out wide, Jordan Morris on the right, Jerome Kiesewetter on the left, pace down the wings. Up top, Bobby Wood, Kyrie Shelton.
Okay.
2 fast forwards. Every player on this team can run 100 metres in 10 seconds or fewer.
That team is going to get smashed so bad.
Why is that?
Well, first of all, you've got 2 players who prefer to play as forwards as your outside midfielders.
Hey, if it works for the US Under-23s. They have
Did it?
They've done this at certain points.
In the sense that they didn't qualify for the Olympics?
Yeah.
Yeah, it totally works for them. But they also had them out wide up top, didn't they? Or at least Jordan Morris did. Maybe Kiesewetter would come in.
I think, actually, I've got this wrong. Kiesewetter, I think when he played for the senior team, got a few minutes at right wing is what happened. Yeah.
And I guess I think, are you saying then that your midfield 2, would they play as a pair, or would they play like one more defensive, one
Acosta
more
more defensive, which is what suits him, and Pulisic more attacking, which is actually what he's going to end up doing, right? He's going to end up being the creative attacking midfielder. Yeah. Okay. And then Bobby Wood and Kyrie Shelton up top.
Interesting.
But coming off the bench, maybe Kakuta Mane.
Yep.
Once he gets his US passport.
Yep.
And Dominic Adoro, if we can do some sort of one-time switch, because he does have one cap for Ghana from back in the day.
VCU zone?
VCU zone, Dominic Adoro, yeah.
I do like the idea of having 18 players, like your 18-player match day squad, and then just having them all sprint. And and the top 11 players get to start.
Yeah. First 11 over the line start. And we've got to hope one of them's a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's your goalkeeper again?
I wrote down Nick Romando just because I imagine him like chipping balls out to the wings with his good feet, but I don't know which keeper is fastest. Maybe someone like Bohamid or Sean Johnson just because they're younger.
It's tough.
It is tough, right?
Let me look at I have a list of young goalkeepers in front of me for reasons that we'll get to shortly.
I mean, you never see goalkeepers sprint, do you? So it's hard to know who's the fastest. And if your goalkeeper's sprinting, you're in trouble.
And when they do, they're pulling a Claudio Bravo.
I can't think how it's a good situation to see your goalkeeper sprinting.
If it's like Chilavert sprinting back from scoring a goal off of a free kick.
That's it, if they're celebrating.
Yeah, that's about it.
Well, there you go. There's the pace-in-your-face 11, which I'm going to say is the new best team that we've selected so far.
Yep, all right.
Are you agree?
I think so.
That 3-5-2 team would crush the pace team.
I don't know. You've got Acosta and Pulisic in the middle. I'm down. My next one is the 40-plus team, which is not what you'd think it is. It's not players who are over the age of 40.
It's not like Casey Keller and Claudio Reyna?
I do like that idea, though.
Yeah.
And then we put them in a time machine and see what happens. No, it's basically players. It's your most experienced players. So it's essentially a team that is only people who have 40 caps or more, which is kind of similar to what Jurgen Klinsmann already does. Yeah, but it's the idea that there's no experimentation in this team. Right. There's no we need to see what Darlington Nagbe can do, or we need to see what Christian Pulisic can do.
Do you know what? The Copa America was maybe basically this, right? There's a lot of very experienced players, and then we were all excited about Pulisic and Nagbe being included, but they played so few minutes, and I wonder if that's part of it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that those guys don't even get in the squad because there's temptation there. Yeah. There's temptation to experiment. There's maybe we'll put in this youngster and see what he can do for 10 minutes.
All right, so before you describe the 40 caps or more team, I've got that correct, right? Yeah. I do see one flaw going forward, which is at some point you can't cap new players, presumably, because you can only cap someone who has 40 caps.
Well, you're still... see, this ties in with my next team.
Stuck in a loop.
This ties in with my next team. No, you just play more friendlies. That's where we are. That's where we are.
All right, so who starts in the 40 caps or more team?
Who starts in the 40 caps or more team? Well, you've got your choice between Brad Guzan and Tim Howard. I've gone with Tim Howard. Right back, DeAndre Edlin. He has 40 caps exactly.
Wow, all right.
Center backs would be Jeff Cameron and Jermaine Jones. 48 and 65. And then Fabian Johnson at left back.
Okay. So basically the US national team.
Alejandro Bedoya, Michael Bradley, Kyle Beckerman, Graham Zusi, Josie Altidore, Clinton Dempsey.
Oh, it's classic.
Yeah.
There's one man missing from this team.
Sasha Question?
Landon Donovan.
Yeah, well, yes.
He's back and he's got more than 100 caps.
Yeah, he's in there. Automatically, he gets consideration. And then really, Sasha Question has 48, which might sound surprising.
It does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But not really, because he's been around a while.
This is true.
Yeah, he's been around a while.
Yeah, so that's
40 caps.
That's the 40 cap team, where it's basically there's no experimentation. There's no we're going to try some different stuff out. We're going to try young players out. We're going to mix and match and see who does well. It's going to be these are the veterans who've gotten this many caps because they know what they're doing. We're going to send them in when we need to just kind of grind out a result.
Yeah, what's the benefit of this? The benefit is that these guys can go.
They can grind.
That's it. And grind somewhere. Yeah.
Because in a game, you've definitely still got some skill. Don't get me wrong, but it's not. We're going to try this guy on the left wing, and he's going to be cutting. It's not going to be Lee Win on the left and Christian Pulisic on the right doing crazy things. It's just going to be, look, guys. We know we need a 0-0 draw, or that's fine. We can play for that. Let's just get it done. Let's get it done.
Get it done.
40 plus. Let's get it done. Exactly.
All right, I've got a team for you. It is the US men's national team, Leicester City 11.
Okay.
So what I've done is I've taken Leicester City's...
I can already tell you this is going to be my favourite one that you do.
Leicester City's Premier League winning team of 2015-16. And you can basically imagine the starting 11 that played almost every game in your head. And I've sort of overlaid US national team equivalents into those positions. Okay, so the basics for people who don't know is that this Leicester City team played a 4-4-2, very compact, had 4 defenders that really could defend, right? No one would be caught out one-on-one, and then they would counter by just putting balls in behind the opposition defence, chasing it down, getting crosses and balls in early from the wings and from the back. Okay, so first thing I've done is I've selected a back 4 of pure defenders. It's Cameron and Brooks in the middle, and the fullbacks are Birnbaum and Beasler. So it's essentially 4 centre-backs across the back 4. No one messes with these guys.
Yep.
No one comes through here. Yep. Okay. Then I need to sort of wizard on the right wing, someone you can look to for a bit of magic. Riyad Mahrez type figure. Christian Pulisic.
Yep.
Christian Pulisic on the right is my Riyad Mahrez figure. Yep. It's 4-4-2. Okay. On the left, I need a guy like Mark Albrighton. Mark Albrighton's thing was every time he got it out left, he would play a diagonal ball into the path of the forwards, or he would get an early cross in. His job was don't mess about, get the ball in the box, cross it in. Fabian Johnson. I would even say Fabian Johnson is an upgrade on Mark Albrighton. His passing is superior. And both of them are playing right-footed balls from the left.
I think you're maybe a little bit putting Fabian Johnson at left midfield because you want Fabian Johnson to play left midfield. I don't know if he's the best correlation to Mark Albrighton.
Why?
Because I would say, think about how you just described him as a player who does what?
Gets balls in early?
Gets balls in early, plays balls, gets his job done. That's Graham Zusi. That's Graham Zusi on the left. Not so. Fabian Johnson is more attacking, more creative, inclined to score goals for you. Mark Albrighton-esque player, I think, is Graham Zusi.
Okay, I'm sold. Graham Zusi on the left instead of Fabian Johnson. Sorry, Fabi. Team comes first with this Leicester City thing. Everyone has a defined role. Okay.
Because that's what it felt like. It felt a little bit like you knew Fabian Johnson should be in there. And so you're like, yeah, he's Mark Albrighton. That's fine.
No, I really was. I was thinking more of the number of times we've seen Johnson get forward and put really good crosses in. The assist we saw him have for Torgan Hazard recently, where he played that really nice pass.
Yeah.
But it's maybe he's too delicate. Maybe he's not as just do the job as Albrighton was. And maybe Zusi is. Okay, I'm in.
I also want to say I'm not saying Graham Zusi and Mark Albrighton are at the same level. Let me just get that out as well before, again, the angry tweets start flooding in.
When the US adopts this strategy, we can have that debate about whether Zusi or Fabian Johnson should play. Central midfield. Leicester City had N'Golo Kante as the ball-winning, intercepting, tackling defensive midfielder who could then take the ball forward and do something with it.
Got it.
Alongside him was Drinkwater, who's kind of just a great all-round player, right? Lots of nice, simple passes, kind of level head, but also very competitive. The best sort of correlation I could come up with was Kellen Acosta in the N'Golo Kante role, because Beckerman doesn't offer the same. He offers the same interception type stuff, doesn't offer the same forward thrust afterwards.
Ranginess,
yeah. And then if Bradley's a defensive midfielder, he doesn't offer the same defensive things, right? Yep. Bradley is my Drinkwater.
Yeah. Neither one was called up for the England team by Roy Hodgson, so so far it checks out.
So you got Acosta and Bradley are the two midfielders, mapping Kante and Drinkwater. Up front, you've got to have Vardy, a fast, pacey finisher, and Okazaki, who's kind of similar, but also willing to do some defensive work, right? So I've
just realized that you're going to be leaving out a player here, and I'm very excited to hear how you do or how you cram him in.
Well, I've gone Jordan Morris is my Jamie Vardy, right? You can imagine balls over the top, Morris running onto them just as Vardy did. And then I'm thinking in the Okazaki role, it's going to be, I think, Bobby Wood.
You're awkward because you're realizing you're leaving out Josie Altidore, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think Bobby Wood is sort of more willing, or I would say more capable of doing the sort of the hard work of closing defenders down. Because that thing with Leicester City was the defending starts from the front, right? And there's a lot of like pressure from defenders, pressure from forwards to force the opposition defenders to pass in certain directions.
Yes. I think, and Leicester really,
City men's national team.
And really, again, because it's not about like who would be the best player to fit in here. It's more like who is the most akin to the player you're talking about. And you're right, Bobby Wood, I think it has more in common with Okazaki than does Josie Altidore.
And if anything, Altidore, it's more, the problem is he's got the best of both in some ways. You know what I mean? Like he's a finisher. He's probably a better finisher. He's definitely a better finisher than Jordan Morris. He uses both his feet.
Vakazaki,
yeah. But he's not quite as sort of savvy about closing people down as I think Bobby Wood is.
Okay.
Right. Or as energetic, I think is the word.
All right.
So there you go, the Leicester City 11.
All right. Well, my final one, it's the one that I think I'm most excited about in the sense that I think it should actually be a thing. It's the noobs. It's the players with 10 caps or fewer. And so when I first was coming up with this, it basically was like the January Camp Cupcake idea, which is what I think that used to be, which is these players who don't get much attention now because MLS is at a season, it's not a FIFA date, but we can call up these MLS players.
Yeah.
But now that's become, I mean, you look at like that over 40 caps team that I just listed.
They're mostly in MLS.
Huge chunk of them are in MLS. So what this would be
it used to be the most experienced players were over in Europe,
exactly,
right? And the up-and-comers are in MLS. That whole thing has got muddled.
Yeah, it's all over the place now.
So you're bringing it back. Is this a new Camp Cupcake?
Kind of. Because
Camp Rockwell?
Camp Newbie, that's all.
Camp Newbie.
Yeah, because this is all for players who have 10 caps or fewer. The idea being that you get these guys in, you don't have any of those veteran figures, so that you don't have anyone to look to. You have to see who can step up and fill certain roles.
A leader will emerge.
Yeah. So there are many, many options here.
Of course, yeah.
Far more than the other two that I've listed. I've gone with Bill Hamid in goal.
Okay.
Right back, Kellen Acosta. He features prominently.
Has he been in every team so
I think so.
Yeah.
Steve Birnbaum and Matt Miazga, my central defenders. Eric Miller at left back.
Uh-huh.
Will Trapp and Perry Kitchen are my defensive midfielders.
Okay.
Then I've got my midfield three of Pulisic and Wynn with Nagby in the middle.
Pulisic has fewer than 10 caps.
Yeah, he's 8.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And Nagby has 10. So I said 10 or fewer. And then Rubio Rubin up top with 3. Now, I feel like I can anticipate the question you're going to ask, which is, so Darlington Nagby has 10 caps. So after he plays one game for this team, is he done then? The answer is no.
Why?
Because if you get a cap in this team before you get to 10, then you get 10 bonus games. So Nagby can continue to play in this team up until he has 20 caps. And then officially he has to move on to the normal team.
The normal team?
Yeah, that's how it works.
What's the normal team? Just a regular US national team?
Uh-huh. And then eventually you get into the veteran squad. That's how it works.
So you have 3 tiers of US national team.
Exactly,
here.
yeah. And then you play more friendlies. So these guys are the ones playing New Zealand and Cuba. And then, but then they have the opportunity to showcase things. Because that's what we want to see in those games, right? Like, We're not really concerned about Cuba as a threat, as an opponent that...
Not since the 60s.
The United States, right. Well done. That the United States is going to have to outwork or outthink, really. Yeah. It's just the United States has more talent than the Cuban national team.
Right.
But if you've got a bunch of youngsters who have no caps between them, and they've got to come together to ragtag group of newbies, they got to find a way to beat Cuba. It's a little more captivating.
Is this a movie pitch or a team pitch?
Yes. Jamie Vardy's getting a movie made about him. I feel like the U.S. noob team needs its own movie.
So 10 caps or fewer, the noobs. Mm-hmm. The U.S. Moobs national team.
Yeah. But I mean, you've got lots of options.
U.S. men's newbie team. They could have the same acronym still.
I like it. Greg Garza could be in there. David Bingham, if we want to stick with goalkeepers. Emerson Hyndman, obviously.
Yeah, anyone with fewer than 10 caps.
Yeah, Julian Green, Fafa Picault, Ethan Finley, Jerome Kiesewetter.
You?
Yeah, all in there. Kyrie Shelton. I love it.
All right, we agreed on 3 each, right? And we've done 3 each.
And you've done one more.
I've done one more because I couldn't resist this idea. I had it too late. Are you ready?
Yes.
It's called the Showboat 11.
Oh, no.
It is a U.S. national team built around Tommy Thompson. This team goes to and from games.
I mean, someone's got to do it. It sure isn't going to be San Jose.
They ride the Tommy train.
Yeah.
This is a team that is not built to win matches.
Is this the Tommy 11? Can we call it that?
It's not built to win matches. It's the USMNT XI.
Yeah.
It's not built to win matches. It's built to entertain. You would pay money to go and watch this team do tricks, all 11 of them.
This is the N1 mixtape tour U.S. national team.
The
so
what?
N1 mixtapes, you don't know that? Oh, okay. Daryl, quit being from another country.
Educate me.
So it's basically just like street basketball. So they don't like, you can travel, you can double dribble, you can do all these things. But the idea is like you're just doing the craziest dunks and bits of skill that you can ever think of.
Globetrotters?
Yeah, a little bit more, but like a little bit even more flair than that, I would say. So it's basically just a team that maybe isn't gonna like abide the rules of the game so much, but they're gonna do crazy stuff. Because like, for example, you're not allowed to like catch the ball in your shirt and then flip it around the way they do. I learned that in the N1 mixtape tour, but that's technically a handball, I believe, in soccer. These guys are gonna do that anyway. They don't care.
I mean, Tommy Thompson will find a way to do that no matter what. Okay, so I've gone with a pretty basic back four. It's Yedlin, Cameron, Brooks, Breckshay. It's a back four that at least is willing to do a few tricks on the ball and take people on, right? How many times have we seen Brooks like fake one way and fake a forward out and then do a risky pass, right? Okay, but that's not where the action is. The action is farther forward.
Yeah, of course.
My central midfield pair is Lee Wynn and Sasha Cleston. You're asking which one of those is the defensive midfielder?
Neither.
I say to you, that's not the kind of question we ask on the Showboat 11.
Of course.
Ahead of them in the
God,
number 10
you have the
slot.
most frustrating team to play pickup soccer with ever.
Ahead of them, Tommy Thompson. He wears the number 10 shirt. Everything goes through him. He wears the captain's armband. To his right, Christian Pulisic, who we've seen do all kinds of step-overs. He puts people on the floor with his moves. He did it this past weekend. To the left, Freddie Adu. We're bringing him back, giving him free rein on this team. Go for it, Freddie. And the centre forward, playing ahead of Tommy Thompson, is Clint Dempsey. Because Dempsey has got those moves, and I think if you could just have him do that and not all the other sort of competitive goal-scoring type stuff, I think you'd see even more of Clint Dempsey's skill set.
I can't believe you rushed Freddie Adu into one of these. Even with the premise that these are ridiculous pitches, still didn't see Freddie Adu coming, but it does give me the idea of I want to do the Freddie Adu 11, which is just U.S. players that have been branded as the next Freddie Adu. Because I think you might be able to do it. It would probably be a weird formation of like a 1-1-8, but it can still work. And I'm down.
I think it's also good to get Adu and Pulisic on the same team so people can see that the comparison is not apt. On the bench for this team, forever, is Darlington Nagbe. Because Nagbe, I love Darlington Nagbe because he's sensible, because he plays the safe pass and keeps possession, because he only drives at players and shoots when it's really on, when the opportunity is there, right?
Yeah.
Nagbe will be on the bench being taught a lesson that frivolous skills are fun to watch.
I love the...
Open it up, Darlington. Open it up.
I love the idea of them having to audition. So it's like, Freddie Adu gets up there and does like 8-step overs and does this trick or this bit of flair. And Christian Pulisic does the same. And then Nagbe's bit of skill is like a sensible pass through 4 cones that he splits perfectly. And the evaluator's just like, no, that is no place here. Get to the bench. You've done yourself a disservice.
The tryouts for this team would be keepy uppies.
Yep.
Freestyle.
Competitive keepy uppies. Yep.
We've started. You and I had worked on maybe putting together a team of dual nationals.
Yeah.
Or players that the US needs to sort of make citizens and get capped.
Yeah.
And we couldn't quite work it out, but we want to open it up to listeners.
Well, I think part of that is because a lot of them are players that we kind of already know about, like that have eligibility or just are straight up eligible. But I'm sure there's other ones out there that we want to know about that we haven't heard about. There's a guy in the French second division or the German second division who people might have missed or playing in Russia or wherever.
So can I just run through the list fairly quickly? Okay, we've got Ashton Gertz, plays in the Bundesliga. Lyndon Gooch, who's still to declare, right? Irish, English, or American.
Yep.
Starkov, I believe, is in Ukraine.
Evgeny Starkov? I'm not sure where he is nowadays.
The Parker brothers, Devante Parker and Sean Parker. Yep. Kakuta Mane, who famously is living at, is it Port Roberts or Point Roberts?
Sure.
I think it's Point Roberts. If you haven't heard us talk about this before, Kakuta Mane.
I think it's Point Roberts that looks like a port. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. He plays for Vancouver, but wants his US residency, so lives in Point Roberts, which is part of Washington, but weirdly close to Vancouver. It's like above the 49th parallel.
Yeah, it's not connected to the continental United States.
It's a really odd situation. But anyway, he's getting his US residency and eventually citizenship, I think, quite soon. Dom Adoro, I mentioned earlier, he has that one cap for Ghana. He's been here since forever. He went to VCU. He hasn't left the United States in terms of full-time residency.
Keeping it on the Dom train, Dom Dwyer. Is he on that list?
Yes, of course, Dom Dwyer. Ossie Alonso, we'd need approval from Cuba. Apologies for the joke I made earlier. And finally, Jesse Gonzalez, who US tried to get, and he eventually decided for Mexico. I think there's still a chance to bring him back.
So, but I want to hear more. I'm sure there's more out there. I know there's lots of people who scour the message boards for like the keywords American eligible.
And I'm looking at the list I just read out. We're really missing defenders.
Yep.
Right? Maybe Cameron Carter-Vickers, but he's kind of on the US train anyway, right? Because he's been in recent US U23, U20 and U17.
Yep.
He's been in a lot of recent US youth teams. So any more defenders that you can think of who are dual nationals that the US needs to cap, let us know and we'll try and put an 11 together based on your feedback.
Is plan. I like this.
All right, Taylor, what have we learned today?
We've learned that we probably shouldn't be allowed to do any sort of free-form creative thinking when it comes to selecting lineups.
Well, I was kind of hoping that we would do this, and I know a lot of these lineups don't make actual sense, but there might be a couple of things that we pull out that do make sense.
I have a serious answer, which is that we both value Kellen Acosta more than I think either one of us thought we did.
Yes! What happened?
He made 2 of my 3 teams, and one of them he was legitimately not eligible for, since he has 3 caps and not 40-plus.
Maybe it's because we recently saw him play for Dallas and we saw what happens when Kellen Acosta plays defensive midfield instead of being forced to play fullback.
That's the thing is I put him at fullback for both my teams, but I didn't want to. It was just that I didn't want to bench Will Trapp or Perry Kitchen.
How do you feel about my Michael Bradley idea? That eventually he could be some sort of like sweeper / libero coming out the back with the ball type guy.
Michael Bradley specifically?
Yeah.
Again, for what I said, I have doubts about his ability to stay switched on defensively because I think he wants to get forward and he wants to do so many different things.
So not sold is what
But
you're
maybe
saying.
if he could be taught to like, here are your 5 responsibilities and that's it, you're no longer like the focal point of every single aspect of the United States national team, then maybe he could handle it. But no for now.
How about my build a team around Tommy Thompson idea?
I mean, that's obviously. How do you not do that?
The day may still come where the US thinks about doing that.
Yep. Again, I feel like we're just bumming out San Jose fans.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Sorry guys. Yeah. How do you feel about my only short people? 11. And I say short knowing that I am, I think, 5'11". Maybe 5'11 and a half. I've never been 6 foot tall, which, much to my chagrin. I think the tallest I ever got was 5'11 and 3/4.
Do you wish you were a little bit taller?
Yeah. And a baller? Yeah. Yeah, so
you should call your girl and say thanks for that idea, though.
Okay, that's enough out of you. It's enough pop culture references. But yeah, so I think it could work, though. You know, incentivize playing on the floor. I don't see how it could go wrong.
No, not at all. Yeah, I'm sure we do fine on set pieces. I'm glad you solved the problem by having people stand on each other's shoulders.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about...
I'm really not joking. I think that could be an amazing set-piece defense technique. Put them in the corner of the 6, on the side of the corners being taken. They got to clear that. They got to find a way around that. I'm sure most players could, but some couldn't.
Shall we move on to the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network?
I mean, I could do like 10 more minutes on this, but if you really want to, that's fine.
All right. So there's been a lot of TSS Scouting Network action over the last few days. These are the promising young players from around the world that our listeners are keeping track of. I think mostly the EFL Cup is to blame, right? Always to take credit, because a lot of players have been in action.
Yeah,
otherwise wouldn't be.
There's like two in this one, 2 or 3 in this one, and then I think like 8 more to come on the next show.
Okay, yeah, so we have, 6 scouting reports today. Taylor, you want to start us off with Ovi Ejaria?
Sure, scouted by Robert Grebel. Ejaria, is that how you pronounce it officially? Right. Was handed his first team debut in what was an approximately 15-minute cameo at the end of Liverpool's EFL Cup third-round win over Derby County.
First team debut for Ovi, all right?
Hooray.
Good stuff. Kyle Starley is scouting Ousmane Dembele of Borussia Dortmund, opposite wing to Christian Pulisic. Kyle says Dembele scored his first Bundesliga goal for Dortmund in their 5-1 win over Wolfsburg. He also had a great dribble into the box where he cut inside, then passed to Schmelzer to set up an early chance. Oh, and some kid, Pulisic, looked pretty good too. I saw bits of this game.
Yep.
Pulisic was pulled off at half-time. Not his best performance. He did the same. He played on the right wing. Wasn't involved in any of the 2 goals in the first half. Not a horrible performance, just not as effective as previously. Once again, I'd say don't panic, right? When he had a great performance, it doesn't mean he's the best player in the world, Pulisic. When he has a not so impressive performance, it comes off at half-time after playing the last 2.5 games. It doesn't mean the end of the world either. Everyone be cool.
Sage wisdom from Mr. Grove.
Treat those 2 imposters just the same.
Jeff Markman scouting Jeff Ryan Adelaide, a.k.a. The Jeff. The Jeff made his full debut for Arsenal in their 4-0 victory over Nottingham Forest in the EFL Cup. Initially, he started in the number 10 position in a 4-2-3-1, but also swapped fairly fluidly with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain on the wing. The Jeff was subbed off in the 83rd minute for Gideon Zelalem.
Hey!
Yeah, so still at Arsenal, still getting some minutes, but not starting in a game that Arsenal were clearly not prioritizing.
And if you're scouting Gideon Zelalem, get us updated on Gideon Zelalem. We want to know what's happening.
We sure do.
Up next, Jim Brochard is scouting young Jonathan Klinsmann, son of, right? He's playing, is he playing for...
Cal.
He's playing in goal for Cal College Soccer. Okay. Brochard says, Klinsmann the younger, Jim calls him, pulled off 2 good saves as Cal beat Harvard 6-2. Klinsmann conceded 1 from range. I keep imagining Jurgen in goal. I've got to get that mental.
It's real strange. He's just screaming, come on, guys, come on. Yeah, it probably is, so it works.
Jim says he struggles to get low for that goal and will face tougher competition, number 13, UC Santa Barbara, and number 25, Stanford, in his next 2 games. I read that scouting report from Jim. It was very detailed. It had like the minutes where each thing happened.
It did.
Thank you, Jim, for the info.
It was well done. Also well done was Christian Geppert, scouting Russell, pronounce the last name?
Knaus.
There we go, like a house.
Yeah, he said in the house.
Yep. Don't worry, we get more grammar points here. Russell Knaus had his second start of the season for VfL Bochum. Christian reminds us that it's K, as in Tuchel, Bach, or your favorite Klingon words, not Bochum, I guess.
So it's Bochum.
Yeah, Bochum. Yeah, Bochum. Unfortunately, that start was a 3-0 loss, and Russell's performance was rated E by both Riversport magazine and viewers alike.
E for excellent?
That's E for entertainment. I'm guessing like E below, A, B, C, D, E, F, like one above F?
Yeah, then? I think so.
Yeah. He's expected to be benched again once other players return from injury, I'm assuming, for that rating.
Worth reminding everybody, Russell Knaus is American.
Yep.
That's why we're keeping track of Knaus at... he was at Hoffenheim and is on loan at Bochum.
Those things sound accurate, yes.
All right. Last but by no means least, Ryland Arnold is scouting Ben Woodburn. This is a young teenage Welsh forward in the Liverpool Academy.
You got it.
Okay. Ryland says the young Welsh forward has managed 4 goals and 5 assists in 5 games for Liverpool's U23 side. That's huge because I know Woodburn is not, like, he's very far from 23.
Yep.
He's unlikely to get any senior call-ups, however, since Liverpool is pretty deep when it comes to strikers. For example, Danny Ings has also been playing for that U23 team. I forgot about Danny Ings.
I think Danny Ings forgot about Danny Ings.
Thank you, Ryland, for that update on Ben Woodburn. A lot of people very excited about that kid.
No one forgetting about Ben Woodburn. Some forgetting about Danny Ings.
If you would like to join the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network and scout an exciting young player for us, it's sort of the gift we offer when you support TSS with a subscription. If you'd like more details, go to totalsoccershow.com/subscribe. I just realized I did that in our old public radio register. Where you can't drive it. You can't actually say go subscribe.
Yeah.
You have to just suggest that people go somewhere
for more information. Yep. You want to do the station reset while you're at it?
No, I'm good. But thank you to WRR 97.3 FM. Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you, buddy.
Listeners, if you liked any of our ideas today, contact at totalsoccershow.com. If you didn't like any of our ideas, TAYLOR at totalsoccershow.com.
With 2 more R's on the end. Why not? Also, and again, we do want to hear about maybe eligible or U.S. eligible players
dual
that we might have forgotten that we might have, or even like players who aren't dual nationals yet. I guess I forget how that works exactly, but yeah, we want to hear about it because we do want to try to put together that team.
We looked into Diego Valeri; it's not happening,
and Diego Chara again,
just to see if anything changed.
Yeah.
All right, listeners, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.